Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is having a nice Wednesday morning. My name is Heather. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a fitness and sports instructor at 8 Wing CFB Trenton. I will be teaching today a flexibility mobility fusion class. So I have a few props that I'm going to be using today. If you don't have any equipment, I'll give you options to work without it, so do what you can. So the equipment that I am going to be using today, I have a foam roller, I have a lacrosse ball, and I have a mini band behind me. I'm going to be using all those things during today's class, and I'm also going to use that big empty wall space behind me as well. So if you have access to an empty wall, that would be helpful for one of the things that we're going to be doing in our class today. So feel free to play any music that you want to on your end. I won't be playing any here. Just have that on in the background. Feel free to work at your own pace. So if there's anything that I ask you to do today that isn't working for you, feel free to go back to the last place that did feel comfortable for you and join me again when you feel comfortable. So I'm just going to go through a quick disclaimer that is also found in the description of this video if you're looking for that version of it. In response to COVID-19, PSP is offering virtual fitness to Canadian Armed Forces members. By using social media platforms, the virtual fitness classes tailored to Canadian Armed Forces personnel become accessible to all. Participants who are not Canadian Armed Forces members recognize and acknowledge that their age, health status, and physical fitness level are unknown, and it's entirely up to each individual to assess their ability to participate in this class. Since it is preferable to consult your physician before beginning any exercise program, we invite all participants who are not Canadian Armed Forces members to consult the Get Active questionnaire of the Canadian Society of Exercise Physiology and its reference document. If you experience any pain or difficulty during the exercises presented in this video, it is recommended that you stop and consult a healthcare provider. If you are a CAF member and you sustain an injury during this video, please remember to fill out a CF98. Okay, so we are going to get started in just a few moments. So if you do have the equipment that I mentioned at the beginning, feel free to grab that. And we are going to start out with a bit of a warm up just to kind of get everything moving with our mini band. So I'm going to loop the band just above my knee, so it's going to be on my legs. So feel free to get that mini band on if you have it. If you do not have it, that's totally fine. We can work without it. So I'm going to start at one end of my mat, and I'm just going to be moving side to side along the length of my mat as sort of my distance. I'm going to start out facing forward. So I'm going to bring my hips back slightly, keeping my knees bent. My feet are about hip width apart. And I'm just going to do a little walk forward. So thinking about trying to keep those feet out moving wide. Then I'm going to reverse it to come all the way back along the length of my room. And try not to trip over anything behind me. We're going to go forward and back again. So again, you can do this without the band if you do not have access to one. I'm going to go one more time. Perfect. From here, I'm going to move laterally. So again, using the full space that I have access to. Sitting back, I'm going to take a step out, bring my feet together. Step out, feet together. Moving through the space that I have in my room. One more time there and back. Apparently my balance isn't very good at 7 a.m. Perfect. Okay, so from here, we are going to start standing. We're going to bring our feet about hip width apart, and we're just going to come down through our regular range of motion squat. And we're going to do 8 of those. So sit back and come back up. So activating all those little muscles. Perfect. A few more things that we're going to do with the band before we come into more of our stretches, just kind of getting everything warmed up. So we're going to start with our feet about hip width apart again. You're going to bend into your knees a little bit. And we're going to step 1 foot back at about a 45-degree angle and then bring it back to start. So from front view, step back at about a 45-degree angle, come back. We're going to do 8 per side. Perfect, other side. Again, all of these can be done without the band if you do not have access to one. Perfect. From here, we're going to come down onto our mats. So we're going to be in a tabletop position, so we still have that band on there. We're going to try to lift one heel up towards the ceiling. It's not going to go as far as it probably normally would without the band, so keep that in mind. And we're just going to do 5 per side here, so keeping that band on just above those knees. We're going to lift heel up towards the ceiling, back down. Let's do 5. Warming up those glutes a little bit more before we come into those stretches. Perfect. Other side. This will be helpful for some of the hip mobility drills that we're going to be doing shortly. Just kind of getting things warmed up and awake this early in the morning. Perfect. And we are going to come down onto our side. So you're going to have your knees kind of propped out in front of you a little bit. Feet are stacked on top of each other. You're going to come down onto your side, still keeping that band on. You're going to lift your top knee up off of the bottom knee. We're going to do 5 per side here. Really warming up those hips. Perfect. And we'll do the same thing on our other side. I don't know about you, but my glutes and my hips are warmed up. Perfect. So we can get rid of that band. We will not need that anymore. We're going to start to work through some hip mobility drills, and then we'll work the foam roller back in. So we are going to start out with a 90-90 knee rock. So your legs are going to just be out in front of you. Feet are going to be out wider than hip width apart, and knees are bent at 90 degrees. So my heels are in contact. Hands can just kind of come behind you. If you want to try to stay more upright, you can. But we're going to be here. And we're just going to let both knees drop to one side, come back through center, both knees drop to the other side. And we're just going to alternate through that range of motion. Trying to get that inside knee to touch down if you can, if you have the mobility to do so. And let's land on one side. So both my legs are kind of at a 90 degree here, and I'm kind of seated sort of up on one hip. I'm going to take my focus to my back leg. So sitting up nice and tall, I'm going to lean towards that back ankle with my back shoulder. And we're just going to hold and breathe here. Come back up through center. We're going to take our focus to our front leg. And we're going to lean forward, hinging from the hip. Bring your hands on either side of that front foot. If you can walk out any farther, you are welcome to, but only go kind of as far as you're comfortable with. And we're going to continue to follow that front leg around. So we're going to take our hands to the outside. We'll walk around, coming out over the quad on that side. And you can stay upright here, or you can choose to try to walk those hands out a little farther, maybe come down onto your forearms from here. Good. We'll come back up through center. And we're going to come back into that knee rock. So we're going to do a few more each side. Let's do 5 each side here. And then we're going to land on our second side. So again, my legs, knees are both bent at 90. One is kind of pitched out in front, one is kind of pitched out behind. And we're going to try to stay fairly upright to start. Then we're going to take that back shoulder and lean towards that back ankle. Come back out to the front. We're going to take our focus over to our front leg. So one hand on either side of that front leg. And from here, we'll follow that front leg, hands on the outside, walking all the way around over top of our quad. We'll stay upright here if that's most comfortable, or you can come down onto your forearms if you would like. If you are down on your forearms, you can come back up onto your hands. We'll come back through center. We're going to stay with our legs extended out in front from here. We're going to pull one leg kind of in towards us. So you're kind of up on your sits bones, leg is extended, foot is flexed on that extended leg, and we're just going to try to lift that foot up off of the ground. From here, we're going to try to cradle that front leg. So if you can take your opposite hand, you're going to bring it around the bottom of your foot. You're going to start to rotate that foot, or rotate that leg, and you're going to try to get your foot into the crook of your elbow, and then just cradle that leg up towards you. Bring that foot back down and then extend all the way out. We'll switch sides, pull that other foot in. So other foot on that extended leg is flexed. We are going to try to lift that leg up off the ground. We're going to take our opposite arm and we're going to come underneath our foot as we start to rotate through the hip to bring that leg towards us. We're going to try to get our foot into the crook of our elbow. We're going to cradle that leg in, hugging that leg in towards you. And release that leg, extend out in front of you. We are gonna slide both of those feet in. And we're gonna come into a tabletop position. So we're gonna be on our hands and our knees. I'm gonna take my glasses off here because they're probably gonna just fall off my face anyway. And we're gonna take our hips through some hip cars. So a car stands for controlled articular rotation. So essentially we're trying to take our hip through its full range of motion, trying to stick to really those outside edges of that range, doing the best you can to do that. So if you have any pain, make sure that you back off of that. Just make your circle a little bit smaller if it's really painful, but it's slow and controlled, and we're trying to hit all those end ranges of that hip in a circle. So we're going to start off by bending at the knees, so you're bringing your heel towards your glute. You're going to pull your knee in, extend out to the side as far as you can, come all the way around that circle to finish at the top, and then come back in knee to chest. Do that 2 more times this direction. And 1 more time. So the idea is to try to keep your other hip super level. Good. We're going to reverse it here. So staying on the same side, now we're going to drive our heel up towards the ceiling, come out and around, and back to start. Let's do that 2 more times this direction. Perfect. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to start out by bringing our heel in towards our glute. We're going to bend or bring our knee towards our chest, knee out as far as you can to the side, come all the way back around, and return to start position. Out to the side, all the way around, back to start position. Let's do 1 more this way. Good. We'll reverse that. Heel up, come out and around, back to start. 2 more. Perfect. Okay, from here we're going to stay in this tabletop. We're going to sit all the way back on our heels, so our arms are extended out in front of us. You can rest your head down on the mat. We're going to walk both hands over to one side of the mat, so really stretching through that upper back. Walk those hands back through center, and we'll come over to the other side. Back through center. We're going to come all the way back onto hands and knees. We'll take one hand to the side of our head. We're going to point that elbow up towards the ceiling, and then point that elbow back down. Point your elbow up towards the ceiling, and come back down. 1 more time on that side, point that elbow up. And as you take that hand off the side of your head, you're going to thread it in between your arm and your leg. Bring your shoulder down to the ground. You can rest your head down. Other hand is going to reach up towards the top edge of your mat. Slide that hand back in. You can press yourself back up into your tabletop. We're going to do the other side. So hand on the side of your head, point the elbow up, look up. Come back down, elbow towards the floor. Point that elbow up, look up. Elbow to the floor. 1 more time, let's point that elbow up and look up. And we'll take that hand off the side of our head, thread it through our arm and our leg, get your shoulder down, get your head down, reach up towards the top edge of your mat. You take that hand of that extended arm, slide it back in towards you, press yourself back up onto your hands and your knees. Awesome job. So we are going to start to incorporate our foam roller a little bit now. So again, if you don't have one, feel free to just work through some stretches that target the areas that we're going to be working through on the roller. So we're going to start with our back. So good stretches to do would be some of the ones that we were just doing actually, those thoracic spine openers. So you're going to sit in front of your roller, you're going to bring it in behind your low back, and you're going to be rolling just to the point just below your shoulder blades. So you don't want to go all the way up into your upper back and into your neck. So we're working through relatively small range. So coming up. You can come in here, Liv, if you want. Hi, kiddo. Somebody is just waking up. Hi. Come here. You want to give me some extra weight? Oh. Thank you. Okay, so from here we're going to lean back against the roller and we are going to lean back over it. Bring our head down to the ground if we can and easing back up. Lower down, lean back over that roller just as far as you're comfortable and come on back up. Come down one more, lean back. And come on back up. Perfect. We're going to roll through that range a little bit more and then we're going to repeat those three lean backs over that roller. So we're going to bring it back down to the base. Hi. Roll through that range. You trying to hide? And then we're going to start at that bottom position, lean back over that roller, come on back up, we'll move down slightly, come back over the roller, come back up, we'll move one more time down, and then come over the roller again. So we're still underneath the shoulder blades. Are you still tired? Are you having a nap down there? No? You're hiding? I think they can still see you. Okay, so from here, we're going to do... Okay. From here, we're going to bring our hands on top of the roller. We're going to press that roller away from us as we bring our chest down towards the floor. And come all the way back up to start. We're going to do that 2 more times. We'll press the roller away from us. Okay, you can ask Grandma. Tell her, just go upstairs and find them for her. Okay, we're going to move the foam roller. We're going to come into a seated position on top of that roller. So we're going to be sitting on one side. So we're going to work through our glutes to start. So we're going to just place the foam roller sort of underneath us. We're going to work through one side at a time. We're gonna roll just top to bottom from that roller. So we'll work through that range first. And we're gonna stay on that side and we're gonna move side to side across our glute. So you can play around with the positioning of the roller here. If you want to move it a little bit higher or a little bit lower on your glute, that is an option. Good, and then we are gonna come onto our side. So we're gonna find our hip bone on our side. And we're just gonna come a few, maybe about 5 centimeters or so below that. Maybe a little lower depending on how tall you are. We're gonna lay on top of the roller on our side. So feet and hips are stacked on top of each other. We're gonna move forward to back. So we're kind of pointing our belly towards the floor and then roll the belly button open towards the ceiling. We'll move through this range a few times before we switch over to our other side. Perfect. We are going to move over to our other glute to start. So we're going to be seated on top of the roller on that other side. And we're going to roll top to bottom on that glute. Move this tiny wine glass out of the way. Must have looked thirsty. Good, and then we're going to stay on this side. We're going to move side to side along that glute. Wow. Outfit change. You decided it was a good idea for winter PJs? Is it cold down here? Yeah. Okay, we're gonna come on to our side. So again, finding that hip bone, coming down a little bit lower. We'll lay on top of that roller. Feet stacked on top of each other, hips stacked on top of each other. We're just gonna roll front to back here. Perfect. We are going to move the foam roller over to the front. So we're going to work through our quads, and then we are going to bring our lacrosse ball into it a little bit. So to start out with our quads, we are just always remembering that we're trying to move over that muscle and not coming over that joint. So we're going to come just below our hip flexor and just above our knee, and that's kind of the range that we're going to be moving through. So I'm going to come over top of the roller. I'm just going to move through that range that I just mentioned. With the quads, because you're kind of working with a little bit of a bigger surface area, you can always play around with your foot positioning to target different areas of that muscle. Perfect. We'll move over to that other side. So same thing, just moving over that main part of the muscle. Perfect. Okay, so we are going to bring our lacrosse ball into play as I mentioned. So we are going to use that for our hamstrings and our calves. So last time I used a foam roller for those, so definitely doable to use the foam roller instead of the lacrosse ball if you don't want it to be as intense. For me, I find it a little bit difficult to get my weight distributed properly using the roller when I'm wanting to work through my hamstrings and my calves, so I'm going to use the lacrosse ball today. So same kind of principle applies. We're just working over that muscle, not coming over the joint, not coming up into the glute either when we're working through our hamstrings. So basically I'm just going to place that lacrosse ball just underneath my leg, and then I'm just going to use my hands and my opposite foot to just kind of help assist me to roll over that muscle. Hi kiddo. What's up? Oh, my water? Thank you. She's very concerned with my hydration levels. She knows we need to drink lots of water when we're exercising, so that must be it. Good, and we're gonna stay on this side. It doesn't quite have the desired effect I want because I'm on carpet, so it would be a lot better if I was on a hard surface. Okay, we're gonna place that lacrosse ball underneath our calves next. We're gonna work through that. So again, same thing, we're not going over our joints, so we're not coming right up underneath that knee, and we're not going to go as low so that we're not coming across that Achilles tendon or down into your ankle. Just really trying to work through that main belly of the muscle. Good. Okay, so moving over to the hamstring and calf on the other side. I almost forgot. I was just going to completely skip over my second leg. So we'll move over to our hamstring on that second side. Again, not quite the desired effect I would hope for in terms of my hamstring. It was a little bit better for my calf, being that I'm on carpet, a carpeted surface right now. So the bottom of the ball is not on a hard surface, which would make it a little bit more effective. But still getting a little bit of work there. It just kind of makes the ball sink in a little bit more, and I'm not quite getting into that muscle like I would like to be. Good, and then from there we're going to move it down to our calf on that side. I'm just sticking to that muscle, not coming down to the ankle or up behind the knee. Ooh. Perfect. Okay, so we are going to use the lacrosse ball for one more thing, and then we're going to do one of our final stretches against the wall. So we're going to do legs on the wall to kind of finish ourselves off today. So we're going to place the lacrosse ball between ourselves and the wall. So we're going to be trying to focus on kind of the inside of that shoulder blade or that mid back. And I kind of like to roll just right around the outside or the inside edge of my shoulder blade. Maybe you're wanting to come a little bit closer to the spine, but we're trying to stay kind of on that muscle portion on our back. So I'm going to just place that ball behind me. So I'm going to try to start it a little bit kind of closer to the bottom because it's easier to move yourself down than up. And I'm just going to kind of walk my feet out a bit, and I'm going to roll that ball along my back, along the wall. So the more you kind of press yourself into the wall, the more you're going to kind of feel this one. You may need to adjust the ball periodically like I am. Feels like I particularly am carrying a lot of tightness here, so this is a good one to work in today. Do a few more pass-throughs on that side. Good, and I'm gonna move it over to the other side of my back. So same kind of thing, I'm working kind of between the spine and my shoulder blade. Just on that mid-back, and just moving that roller or that ball along the muscle, bending into the knees to come up a little bit higher. Perfect. A few more times on that side, moving that lacrosse ball over our backs, inside edge of that shoulder blade. Perfect. So we're going to get rid of that ball, but we are going to try to use our wall space a little bit more here. So we're going to do legs up on the wall. So they're really great for circulation and drainage through the legs. So if you have sore muscles in your leg, this is a great one to do. One that I like to particularly do after a run. So we're going to kind of keep ourselves seated really close to the wall. And as we kind of turn our legs up against the wall, we're going to lay on our back. So by the end of it, my legs are going to be on the wall. I'm going to be laying out kind of perpendicular to the wall. If you have something like a little blanket or something that you can place under your lower back, that is sometimes helpful. And we're going to stay in this for a few minutes at least. Feel free to stay in it as long as you want. So we're seated close to the wall. We're going to turn ourselves, place our legs up on the wall. And we're just going to hang out here for a few minutes. So I'm going to keep an eye on my watch to see the time. So we're going to stay here for at least 2-3 minutes. Preferably you even are able to stay here for 5 minutes, maybe up to 15 minutes even, just really allowing yourself to relax here. This can also be a great tool to help if you have a headache. Can help with stress. Just a really great way to kind of get the benefits of an inversion without really needing to tap into any strength. It's more of a relaxation kind of pose. Coming up on a minute so far. Your arms can just be resting down at your sides. Have them overhead if that feels good. You can have them bent at 90, really opening up through the chest as well, if that feels comfortable. Been here about a minute. We'll stay here for a few more. Just trying to relax here. Been here for about 2 minutes. Let's stay for 1 more minute, and if you feel like you want to stay here longer, that's totally fine. We're going to be wrapping things up after this, coming up on the end of class. So if you don't want to come out of this posture just yet, feel free to stay here as long as you'd like. And stay here for another 30 seconds or so. Hi. Okay, we'll just ask her for it. Okay. Okay, just go get it. She'll give it to you. Tears over fake hamburgers with her kitchen set. You could also overhear her telling Grandma that she likes ketchup, which is false because I think she's maybe the only child in the world that doesn't like dipping things. Unless it's syrup, she does like syrup. But I mean, that's pretty much just sugar, so. That being said, so is ketchup, and she doesn't like ketchup, so. Anyways, coming up on our 3 minutes here, so we're gonna start to come down off the walls. I'm just gonna kind of walk my feet down. I'll turn over to one side, coming all the way back up. Feel free to ease your way back over to your mat if you've moved away from it. And we're just gonna do a few more things here to finish off our class today. So we're gonna tuck our chin down towards our chest, just getting that nice stretch through the back of the neck. And keeping our chin tucked down, we're just going to look over towards one shoulder. Come back through center, over to that other shoulder. And then back to the middle. We'll look straight ahead. We're going to take one arm, tuck it in behind our back. And we're going to tilt our head away from that shoulder. So we're trying to create lots of space on that one side. If you'd like, you can even kind of tilt your chin towards that shoulder, getting a little bit more of a stretch, more so coming into the side of your neck. And we'll release that other side, tuck that arm in behind, and then tilt your hand kind of in the direction of that hand. Getting that nice stretch along that opposite side. And if you'd like here, you can look down towards that shoulder slightly, getting a little bit more of a stretch through the neck. And we'll release that, come back through center. So that is going to be everything for our Flexibility Mobility Fusion today, with several special appearances from Olivia. If you have any questions about anything that we did in today's class, or you'd like to reach out, feel free to leave a message in the comments. If you're looking for how to contact the Fitness and Sports Department, all of our contact information is available on our Facebook page. There's a list of Gmail accounts that you can contact in lieu of contacting us at the base. If you're looking for more virtual fitness classes, there is a full schedule available on Calf Connection under Virtual Fitness, so feel free to check that out. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Have a great day, guys.